talks, nobody talks, nobody talks shidduchim.
This is the Nobody Talks Shidduchim podcast.
I love that intro. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love that intro. Look, can we hear it again?
Nobody talks, nobody talks, nobody talks shidduchim.
This is the Nobody Talks Shidduchim podcast.
And yes, this is the Nobody Talks Shidduchim podcast. I am your host, IJ here. Very experienced dater, as you can tell. I managed to lose Avery again. We do have two fantastic co-hosts today with me. We have Coach Hannah and we have Rosie. Coach Hannah's back, hasn't been on for a few episodes. People were requesting her. I was actually requesting her also, and she's going to be joining us. This episode, we're going to be talking about parents and shidduchim. There's so much to it. This was a bit sparked by last episode where Mrs. Nymark, who people really liked her, she brought up that parent involvement. And I'm like thinking, we've been trashing the shadchan for 30-something episodes. Also, hey, what about the parents, right? Do they really get a pass? Who better to assist me than an experienced dating coach and an experienced female dater? So here we are, episode 33. Hey guys, it's IJ from the Nobody Talks Shidduchim podcast. I want to take a moment to tell you about this awesome new dating site that I even signed Avery up for. Finding a shidduch match is very tough. Where do you go? Where do you find them? Fortunately, there's an all-new website for chesed-minded individuals that are looking to find their zivug. It's called Match Made in Hask. It's free, it's easy to use, it has a private database, and it's run by leading shadchanim from all different backgrounds. It's created for Am Yisrael. So visit matchmadeinhask.com to join. That's matchmadeinhask.com to join. Sign up today. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our episode. And today, like I mentioned, joining us is Coach Hannah, and Rosie is back. Can we get an audience? Let me see here. Okay, I hear that. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but welcome back. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. We're talking about parents. Thank you, Rosie and Coach Hannah here. So we're talking about parenting today. Okay, so that's going to include everything from being involved in resume sourcing or being involved in some decision making for the guys or the girls or for their child, whether they're acting as your shadchan, whether they are. Many parents today become the agents. This was sparked a bit from our last episode where Mrs. Nymark brought up some issues with the parents today in the whole shidduch process. You know, it many times is a bracha, but there also is plenty of times when it's a klala. And you know what? People might not even be aware of it. I can go on a tantrum about friends of mine who involved their parents, and once they threw them away, they got married. And then look, I have other situations also, not as many, but people that are did not have their parents involved at all, and there are some that they start involving them, and things that honestly get a little bit better. Parent and shidduchim. First, raw thoughts.
So yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. I think it is very much a case by case basis in the sense of the parents and the child. You know, everyone has their own parenting style, and how they relate to their kids and how they converse with their kids. So, if it's a type of relationship where the kid feels like they can be honest and they can have a real back and forth with their parents, and it's not just the parents, forcing their ideas on them, as well as the fact that if the kids are open and honest with their parents and, can listen to their parents, but also take their own feelings into account, essentially, if it's a healthy relationship, then I don't see a problem, with the parents being involved. Obviously, if that's not the case, that's where, you have the problems and the issues come up.
No, I 100% agree. And again, if your parents know who you are, then go ahead with it. It's so much easier. There's so much to do while dating, right? You got to get a guy or a girl to like you. Now add your parents into the mixture. You got to get your parents to like them too. At least in the beginning, if they're looking into it and they're involved in the shidduch process, there's that like one less level of you trying to convince another person in the picture to agree with whomever you're dating.
Agreed. And you also have to be on the same page with your parents in the sense that if your parents think that you are firmer than you are and they're not really getting, a real picture of you, they're not going to be giving you the right suggestions. You have to have an open line of communication with your parents.
Yeah, and that's a big obstacle with many people. Rosie and even Coach Hannah, you brought up a really interesting point there that we should go on in discussion with. Do you need to be on the same page as your parents?
I mean, I think that there's no reason not to. Although it's a hard conversation to have if your parents do think that you're a certain way when you're not, I think that you're only hurting yourself by not being open with your parents. Now, obviously, kids don't tell their parents everything. It's, they don't need to know every little thing, every place they've been to in the past day, week, or whatever. But their parents should be, on the same page with them as to what they're really looking for. That's, I think, is extremely important.
And Rosie, if they are not on the same page,
good luck.
I like that.
No, I mean, listen, again, like I said before, it's hard enough that you have to figure out what you want, right? In this crazy dating world where you're just dating all different people from all different backgrounds and types like that. So if you're not on the same page with your parents, I'm sorry, it's going to get way more complicated. So maybe you just have to distance yourself from your parents, because there are a lot of people who date without their parents being involved. It's just easier for you. Again, there's enough headache of you dating on your own. Add someone into it. It doesn't even have to be a parent. It could be someone that you look up to or someone that you're super close with. Like, if they're not on the same page with you, just in dating little scenario, remove them from the picture.
Right. It is interesting to note, though, that I do feel like with girls, especially younger girls, I don't think they necessarily have that ability. Like, when you're 19, 20, and you already feel that your parents are not realizing, who you are, or they're not on the same page, I do feel like it's very difficult to convey that to your parents, that, that they're not realizing what the situation is. It's definitely like something that takes a lot of energy, and it has to be done with a lot of finesse, I feel like.
Good point. I forgot what it was like dating much younger. But that's why everybody says, get a mentor, have somebody else intervene and help you, because, and this doesn't only apply to your parents, by the way, it's be true for what you're looking for across the board.
Yes, that's true. And I definitely agree with you about the mentor thing. I think that a lot of young girls feel like, I'm just going to rely on my mother. She'll take care of it. She'll tell me which shadchan to go to and visit and things like that. But then, if they feel like there's a problem, they just feel lost all of a sudden. And it just becomes this whole barrier and this whole difficult thing in their mind, that how are they going to convey to the shadchan that this is not a good idea? Or how are they going to convey that, maybe we should do something else or change it up? And it's very important to have somebody that's going to give you an objective opinion about how to go about the whole process in general.
Yeah. And look, not too many singles, whether they're experienced or not, which, by the way, I've heard our listeners, our audience, let me know that you don't have to be young or old. It's all about experience. And that's true, in terms of dating experience. So, right, you could be 22 and you could, have dated 100 people. Well, that would be pretty crazy.
No.
It's also about maturity and mindset. You can be a 20-year-old and have the maturity of a 29-year-old, and you can also be a 29-year-old and have the maturity of a 19-year-old. So it's really all about, how you've grown up and how you what you decided to become at the beginning of your dating process.
If you have the aptitude for it. Right. No, great point. I would like to ask Rosie that are, singles that abnegate, or they basically fail to fulfill getting their parent involved when they should, right? Let's say they choose a mentor. Does a mentor really do it? Can a mentor, or an uncle, an aunt, a rebbe, whatever, everyone knows what I mean by mentor, right? That parlance. Is there actually a substitute for a parent?
Yeah, 100%.
I think so, but I also think that you have to be very careful with that, because you don't want your parents to feel like they're being usurped, and you also don't want to necessarily block out good advice when you could get good advice from your parents and from your mentor. You basically have to, know what you're dealing with, and you have to be smart about what questions you ask which people. I think you can kind of get a feel once, you're more comfortable with whatever mentor you choose, what you should direct to them, and, what you maybe want to include your parents in on.
Yeah, but not everybody has the privilege of having their parents involved. And for those that don't, if you have a mentor that knows you and knows what you're looking for, they're going to 100% be a substitute for that.
I like that.
Agreed. But the thing is, though, that you don't want it to come back and bite you if your parents are going to be very upset about the idea that they're not being involved at all. So if you don't have that sort of relationship with your parents and you're looking for it elsewhere, but you know that they're going to be insulted, I would say include them on the most topical, basic level so you kind of cover all your bases.
Basically tell them that you're dating.
Tell them you're dating, tell them that you're married, like the basics.
Yes, you have to, you have to let them know at some point. And speaking of some point, what would you say is the best time to actually bring someone up to your parents that you're actually dating them, whether you just started or you're some time into it? When would be the best time to start bringing that up to your parents?
I think it's based on how you know your parents will react. So if you have the type of parents that on date one, they're already going to be harassing you about booking the hall and, getting that BART dress ready.
What's the color scheme?
Exactly, what the color scheme is and how many children you're having. You might want to include them a little bit later on. But I think it really is dependent upon, if you feel like they're going to pressure you at any rate, or if you feel like it'll be helpful.
Okay.
I actually know somebody that they were dating. They didn't want to tell their parents anything pretty much until they were sure that they were going to be getting married. And they basically said, I'm dating somebody seriously. I'm going to be bringing her home for a meal, like next week or something. And that's how you wanted to play it, because he just knew that his parents would ask way too many questions and kind of interfere too much. And, everyone has their own style.
Yeah.
And also just remember that parents freak out at any given time, and it just makes absolutely no sense. So personally, I'll just give you a little anecdote. One time I was dating a guy, literally on the third date I came home, and my mother was like, "You want to have him over for Shabbos? We want to get to know him." And I looked at her and I'm like, no, but thanks for asking. So again, it just really depends on the situation.
Absolutely.
Well, definitely. And hopefully we can make the audience a bit more aware what the situation is, right? People can be a little bit delusional about it in many ways. And it's true. Look, I know, I had a good friend of mine who literally told them, he's getting engaged to this girl. Here's when you're going to meet them. There was no easing into it. It's open to interpretation. The parents are thinking one way, we're so close and we know him and he'll never ever do that to us. Meanwhile, he did the exact opposite, and that might be the best thing. Definitely, look, parents who are listening to this podcast, and there are many, we know, at least I know my mother is, they need to be a bit more perceptive when someone's busy, right? And there are signs, right? Your daughter's coming home late. She's making sure no one's in the house because she's the guy's picking her up, or the guy's
not eating but a Shabbos meal.
Right. Hey, even the guys today, social media, right? People want to look good. They're starting to not take doubles, not take triples, or all that extra stuff.
They're not doing the herring by Kiddush.
No herring by Kiddush anymore. There are signs. For girls, I guess, no pigging out on the salad leftovers from
or they're just looking beautiful on a Tuesday night.
Also, they're getting that extra manicure. Usually they go like once every, Yovel, and now, that's a sign.
Rosie.
Can I just say something?
Yes,
can I interject?
go ahead.
You said it's good signs. For people who don't live at home, though, their parents don't see those signs. So you would have to kind of break it to them a little slower. I mean, if you can't, break it to them in actual words versus just seeing their action.
Yes, but also if they talk to them on the phone, even just if they are going to be more perceptive and tune in, they'll see the nuances. If if their son or their daughter is, let's say, a little bit more nervous, a little bit more on edge, a little bit more, or even a little bit less focused
Space
on
out.
things, a little bit more in the clouds, that's usually a good indicator.
They're in love.
Exactly.
they're in like the La La
floating around.
Land. They're in La La Land.
Exactly.
No, Rosie, that was a great point. Great point. It's true. There are a lot of people, especially getting older, that are not living at home. They're not living at home. Their relationship with their parents is from a distance. I feel like in that situation, not a predicament. In that situation, it could be a benefit in so many ways. The parent is not really too focused day-to-day operations of the child, right? They're always checking in. They're sharing their love. They're sending WhatsApp memes of the elections, but they are, there is that, weekly Shabbos phone call, a few text messages. They shouldn't be shocked when, the guy or the girl says, oh yeah, I'm actually seeing someone serious, and we're here, let me tell you a little about her. Honestly, that might be a lot easier in many ways.
If the parents are less involved in many instances, it's better. But I do think that it's always, as we mentioned before, 'cause I really do think it's important. It's important for everyone to speak to somebody, though. Don't try to do everything on your own and make your own judgments on everything, because you need to have an objective opinion no matter what. You don't want to, because obviously, you're seeing things with rose-colored glasses when you're dating. It's just, that's what happens.
Very true. And if you don't have anybody to talk to, you can talk to Coach Hannah.
Or find a friend. I'm sure there's, I'm not trying to, make myself.
Shameless plug. I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Yes. No. I call Coach Hannah all the time. Whenever I need a shidduch advice, I call Coach Hannah. So everyone, go use her. We'll post her information another time. Rosie, I never call you. You know that. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I ignore your phone calls on purpose.
Oh, okay. Now it makes sense. That's probably why I left my WhatsApp group. All right. So so now let's fast forward here. I love these overall concepts. Let's get into some specific things. Not that we haven't, but here's some more specific things.
Potatoes.
Okay, right. Well, meat and potato. Yeah, salad toppings on the salad. That's what the millennials like. Using the parent as the primary shadchan. Okay, yay or nay? What do people do here? And if it's good or bad, how do they get out of it?
I love it. Personally, I love it. First of all, there's somebody to blame besides for yourself if it doesn't work out. So selfishly for that. And second of all, personally, I'm in a very good, healthy relationship with my parents where I think that they do know who I am. And if they could just do like background information for me, that I don't have to do all that digging and it's helpful for me and it frees up my time, why not?
So essentially you use them to do the dirty work.
100%.
Yeah, I like that. Let them do the dirty work. Let them do the dirty work. Coach Hannah, is that how it always is?
So, I mean, I do hear that. I think that it's really, like I said, it's a case-by-case basis, but I think there are definitely a lot of pros to having your parents, look into things for you, especially also because if you do a lot of the work on your own, I think you're more likely to get jaded faster because you just have to deal with a lot more. If you are able to kind of delegate some of the quote-unquote work and like you kind of have help with it, then it just makes the process that much easier. So if that's an option, I do think, like Rosie said, that it can be really beneficial.
I also really like it because sometimes when you get a resume, right, it's a piece of paper that you're working off of, and then even though you're doing research about the boy or the girl or whomever it is, it's still like a 2D object for some reason. I still just think about the paper, versus if I have them do a lot of the research, it's still like interesting to me, and I actually want to meet the person and date them versus just thinking, what did I get? How much information did I find about him? And I'm not interested in actually going out on that date sometimes.
Yes.
So it becomes more of a job.
Yeah.
You view it as
I feel like I'm at the office and my manager is asking me, did this get updated? Did that get how about that?
Exactly.
And that's how it is when you come home and your family's like, oh yeah, remember the girl you told me? Are you still seeing her? Yes. Oh, okay. Can I just have a few questions? And you're like rolling your eyes. Oh man, like when I'm ready, I'm ready. When I'm ready, I'll let you know. We can go more into detail. Parents have to understand that, there's privacy that needs to be maintained for that relationship, and for both parties to really kind of try to focus on, is this person right for me? Not just what my mother or father might want. And this obviously could be a major problem when the parent is the shadchan. Now, on the other side of it, it could be maybe a bit more beneficial when the parent is the shadchan. Obviously, a little different, because if the parent is sending maybe there might be another shadchan in that case, right? Where, let's say, the girl's mother is acting as a shadchan, and then there's someone else managing the boy. So there is at least a bit of a break in communication. Not like everything should be so directed on top, because look, what I found to be the truth is that, parents are going to, just like we were discussing the other episode, that, they're going to try to find as many reasons wrong rather than right, and not giving that opportunity for the relationship to kind of flow on its own.
On that same vein, with mothers in general, and I don't want to open up a whole can of worms, but I do feel like with mothers in general, in regards to their sons, they safeguard them so much, and they become so what's the word I'm looking for here? Just these feelings of like, he has to only have the best, and she has to be the tip top, and I have this gem and this jewel, and I'm only obviously gonna take the best suggestions.
Because it should be a privilege for you to date him.
Right.
Yes.
I do feel like the playing field should be a little bit more even, in the sense that, if we could have boys and girls be suggested to each other at the same time, as opposed to, a lot of these mothers getting a million resumes for their son and having to choose, and then the girls are waiting for a yes before they even have to get to look into these boys. I do feel like that would help the process a bit also, to kind of just, they can look, if the girl can look into the boy at the same time, and then, they both give their answers. They don't have to wait for one another. I do feel like that would help also.
But I don't agree with that, because I think that boys get read so many more shidduchim than the girls do, right? So if the boy's totally not even interested in you, he just got your resume, and then you're starting to look into him and even get an inkling of excitement, and that's not coming to fruition, like, what's the point of that?
But at the same time, though, if they get a resume and I feel like if they know that there's less pressure on them that the girl's not waiting for them for an answer, so I feel like they might be faster to just say yes or no. It just creates less pressure. I mean, you're the guy here, so you can weigh in on this.
The one thing that pops up in my mind with that is that the boy is not going to see those resumes that he would prefer, and the mother does not prefer, and they will be missing out on a very good opportunity. They would be missing out on the fact that might be a girl that he actually might be interested in. He might not be willing to share, well, mother, I'm actually like, sneeze. It doesn't have to be, to the tippy toes. I'm okay if it's by the ankles, and
yeah.
or maybe he is looking for more from girl, right? Being a product of the yeshiva system, where I was a musmach at one point. I had a lot of friends who they were a lot more from than their parents. And the mother was still, mother might have been modern Orthodox, modern yeshivish, and this guy now was a really yeshivish machmir guy, and he was looking for something else. So this is a very rough area for the guy in so many problems. Not just, you're taking a lot of the responsibility out of it. People need to, most people in shidduchim are doing a lot of work. They're doing a lot of work and researching, getting resumes, reaching out, you're missing out on that. Now, many times it happens to be that it's not worth it. It could just be too hard for them, and that's great, because if you have parents to fall back on, that's a real bracha that you might have, that they can really interject and take all those hard bullets. But for someone who might need that, they might need that experience to slowly go through resumes and really see, what do I want? What is working? What might not be working? Have I maybe not said too many yeses to girls from this area or guys from here? But at the end of the day, it's not their choice; it's their parents' choice.
Yeah, I do hear that. I do feel like the boys in general, though, should be more involved with their shidduchim. The idea of, I'm going to leave it all up to my parents, like you said, there's a lot of flaws with that, because they might be overlooking things because they're not even aware of that they're being suggested, and the parents are coming from the mindset of only the best.
Yeah, your mother basically, that Hollywood agent that I keep on referencing, which I have, by the way, everyone. Mugshots will be up on the at Nobody Talks Shidduchim Instagram. They become the Hollywood agent, and here you are. They might be over. They really, most of the time they will be. They'll be overestimating. Yeah, I think it's a big problem, but it could go either way. For people who have been letting their parents do it for so many years, they have to come to a point, if they're still in shidduchim and it's been 5 years, and your mother's handling all the resumes, or even your father sometimes, right? Maybe it's time for myself to try, and that could be an issue. If it is an issue, if your mother's not going to respond well, contact a shadchan yourself, someone you trust, someone you know. Try to find them however you can, source them wherever you can get them, and tell them the situation. Say, I would like to just start getting some resumes, directly to me, and see if it could work out. It might not. And you can say, look, please do not tell my mother this. Shadchan might respond, I don't feel comfortable with that. Explain to them the situation. If they're clearly not on board, say, okay, you know what, not a bad idea. I think you're right. And then move on to another one who will do it. Because it comes to a point where you have to look in the mirror and say, I'm doing this way 5-6 years, and I haven't gone past the second or third date. There's a problem.
Yeah. There's always has to be that reassessment. When you're doing something for so long and you're not getting the results that you want, like you said, you definitely have to reassess what you've been doing till now. And see if the shadchan can help you out on the side. Maybe there's like a shadchan HIPAA law that, they're not allowed to tell your information to the parents or something.
A lot of them like dealing with the people who are dating directly anyway. It's so much easier than, my daughter said this, my son said this, and it's just like the crossing of the wires where you never said that in your life, but somehow I got back and heard that you said that. So
yeah, it
definitely
easier. But then you have these mothers that are holding their son's resume so tightly, and they're in this locked safe, and they need a combination just to take it out. So you have that also.
Hey, this is Yonah from the Nobody Talks Shidduchim podcast. Did you like our new jingle? Well, thank you. I wrote and sang it, but my vision would never have been realized without my talented buddy, Hillel Kapnick. At Uptop Recording Studios in Muncie, Hillel takes your musical dreams and transforms them into reality. I can personally attest to his talent and general awesomeness. Hillel is available for song production, musical arrangements, vocal recording, mixing, mastering, and more. He's also a DJ and a one-man band, so no matter what your musical needs are, Hillel is your man. For more information, check out his website at hillelcaps.com. That's HILLELKAPS.com. And follow him on Facebook and Instagram.
You have mothers that they need to know and be too much on top of it. Maybe not actually being the shadchan or setting up directly, but they're very involved, because as we know, when they're at the challah baking event every week or whatever, and all the hak and all the yenting is going on, and Sprinza asks Rivka, what's Yankee doing? Who's he sing? And the mother's gonna just be perplexed, like, I had no idea. Am I supposed to? And they're gonna respond, of course you need to know, of course. And there is that social pressure. I feel that for the parents. I'll let them have it. I'll say it isn't so comfortable being in that position to just not have a response, not really understand. For those who do have that, I would advise them and say the following. tell them, oh, absolutely, he is seeing someone, she is seeing someone, and I don't want to. I know a bit about him. Nothing's official yet, but when the right times come, I'll share all that information with you. So that's good. That's good for the parents to know who are listening.
There's always two sides, and it is a very good point about the parents, not wanting to be so left out that they have no idea what's going on with their kids. It can definitely be hurtful if it comes to that.
Do you think, in regards to parents, do the guys have it tougher with the parents, or do the girls have it tougher?
I would have to, I'm thinking about this for a second. I do feel like because the boys get so many resumes and it can be so overwhelming that there's a lot of pressure in that sense, where the girls are more working together with their mother, with their parents, to kind of get the dates and things like that. So I feel like it's very different, and I do feel like the boys have it maybe a little bit harder in this sense. I don't know. What do you think, Rosie?
I think the girls have it harder because a guy, it's like, he's taking his time. It's okay. It's fine. And the girl turns 19 and a half. And it's like, what's wrong with her? Why can't she get married?
19 and a half. Whoa.
I do hear that.
It's like a guy setting up his career and he's busy with this and he always has something else, and the woman is just sitting and waiting to get married. And it's not okay.
And even if you become physical therapists, some of them become nurses. There's an array of activities that they could do also.
Right, but they're waiting to get married. They're not setting up a career, which is sad because we couldn't have careers. We could be busy doing other things, but it's not the case. That's what I find.
I like Coach Hannah's response, where the guys, are not. I just have it harder.
Oh, you have it harder, got it.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you. I appreciate it.
On your Instagram,
I think there are different struggles being had.
Just realize that a lot of more girls live at home than guys do. So
Yes.
guys are either dating when they're in yeshiva, so they're not home, right? And then once they get older, it's more common for a guy to move out than a girl. So a girl has that pressure of living at home as well and being with that surrounding of, like, let's say, what's going on with your dating life? When are you getting married? Who are you dating now? It's more pressure in that way versus a guy just leaves it alone because he's not at home.
I just have a friend, he's 28, and by the way, the girl 28, and she was living at home. He hadn't been living at home for 14, 15 years. And it was a different experience for him over what the girl had to experience with her parents. And she had mentioned to him, what do you mean your parents don't know this and this and this about me? It's like, oh yeah, no, I just share them a few good things and that's all, and that's the relationship. So I would tell the young ladies out there, if I could say young ladies, if I could say young ladies, but I'll tell all the women out there that understand that it's a very different conversation, a boy or a guy or a man or a superhero, might I say, that it's a very, very different conversation than what the guy's going to be conveying over to the parents.
As long as you try to remember her name, that's something.
Well, I write it down on my bencher, so it's
Oh, that's a good idea. Don't write it down on your handle because if it gets smudged, you're lost there.
That is a big takeaway for all the guys out there. I'm just letting you know. Write the name on the bencher. I'm telling you, and pull out that bencher as often as you can.
Oh yeah, even just to look for a phone number or even just to look for directions. Pull out the bencher.
Lady, you may have Tehillim with you.
I do want to add one point though, just looking at things or trying to look at things from a positive perspective. If the girls being at home can definitely be extremely difficult. I do hope though that if they are at home, that they have their parents to commiserate with them and like kind of share the angst that they're feeling, as opposed to just feeling isolated in the sense that they're still home, they're still not where they want to be, so that at least they can have some sort of support system that they're not in the next step of life, but their parents are being supportive of them. So hopefully that's the case as well.
One more thing about girls living at home. So especially in the beginning and when you're younger, a guy comes usually and picks you up, and then your parents can meet them. So automatically your parents are more involved in the shidduch, and they know who you're dating, even if it was once or twice that they've met the guy. So versus guys, when you're dating girls, you go meet the girl, but your parents have never seen them. So, like, I remember when my brothers were dating, my mother kept on saying, like, I wish that for one date the girl would come pick up the boy. That way I can meet her as well because, you know, we're welcoming someone into our family. We know absolutely nothing about it. It's just something to keep in mind.
What Rosie just said was also interesting because I remember somebody telling me that, you know, they have one sister and everybody else boys, and they met their sister's future husband for the first time right before they got engaged, and he says, you know, I shook his hand and it wasn't super, super strong. So I wasn't worried that he was going to be, you know, that he was going to be mean or anything like that. So I was okay with it. And it is true though. Like a lot of the siblings don't get to meet the boys at all until, you know, they're about to get engaged, which is interesting.
I like that. And Coach Hannah, let me ask you, parents ranking siblings, sibling spouses, bringing them back. Is that really a thing? Is that really something like you're bringing home a guy, and you're fear like, well, I hope it's better than, you know, Chava Razels, or at least, or, you know, or like, oh, I wonder if they're going to compare him to Johnny, my brother-in-law. Wow, you know, is that really a thing?
Yeah, I
100% of
yeah. I think that a lot of people who are dating also are very concerned about how their prospective husband or wife will fit into their family, because that is a really big thing to, you know, whatever dynamic you have with your family, to kind of weave your new partner into that dynamic. It takes time, and you also want to make sure that it's actually going to happen. You know, people get very, very nervous about that.
So let's say your parents oppose the shidduch, absolutely against, and you feel strong about this young lad. What do you do?
Is this before you met him already, or you're middle dating him?
In the middle of dating him.
You really have to understand why they're saying no or they're opposed to him. Is it legitimate concerns, or it's just a feeling that they have? Can they express to you why they are so opposed to it? But if you could sit down just and have a rational conversation with them, then maybe it is something to take into consideration. But if they just don't like him, or they don't like that feeling that they got when they walked into the room,
or the
can I
shoes that
say
he
go
was
ahead?
wearing,
No, that's true. Or the car he was driving.
or the lack of car that he was driving.
Yes, the lack
The
of car.
taxi he pulled up with.
Yeah, if it was an Uber, at least, you know, he's up there. But
Okay.
so I would want to just add that
Yes.
I do agree with Rosie on that, you know, it really does depend on why your parents are negating it. And even if you don't necessarily agree with what they're saying, but if what they're saying is important, you know, if it's something to do with the character, if they feel like the boy doesn't have any drive, or the girl really seems to be very into you know, money or things like that. These are all important things. And even if you don't necessarily see it, if you have trusted your parents in the past with, you know, other decisions, I would say that you should trust them with what they're telling you now.
Okay, lightning round for episode 33, Parents and Shidduchim. I'm going to ask the questions, and throw out the lightning questions, and they will respond. These are the questions that Coach Hannah and Rosie have not seen. You know, this way we make sure everything's a fair debate between the Trump and Biden campaign. The Coach Hannah and Rosie campaign, I meant. Okay, the father's the shadchan.
Well, just the father, that's different.
Just the father, yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
No, it helps to clarify. This is true.
I don't think it's so good. I don't feel like the father has the stamina for this type of thing. I think he'll just refer to the mom.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that, but we should be more open-minded, technically.
I guess we should.
You introduce the person you're dating to your parents. Parents comment, she is too frum.
Never had that said about me.
I would ask for them to elaborate. I would say, what do you mean by that? Give me examples. I would press them on it.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, press them on it is good. And yes, Rosie, you know, sometimes it doesn't happen.
Okay. I'll let you know when it happens.
Okay.
Get back to us.
Parents ask, where are you going for the date?
I don't mind answering that question.
I think that's fine also. As long as you know that they're not going to be giving you a hard time. You're going apple picking on a second date. Are you going to wear heels with this apple picking? Are you going to be carving pumpkins? I don't agree with the pumpkin carving.
Or if they're asking, You also have to be aware of are they asking because they'll by mistake show up there at the same time as you, or they're just asking because they're curious.
That's true. And if they show up wearing like glasses and a fake mustache, and you still know it's them, and they're doing the whole incognito music, problem.
Oh, yes. Avery does that to me on almost every date I go on. Anyway, okay, so here are a few more we have along the lightning rounds. Mother responds to the son. Is she really going to have time for the kids?
If only this wasn't a podcast and you could see my face, because I don't even know how to respond to that.
So we'll go with
right there
parents never
telling.
say that.
I think that's very telling of how the mother feels about the girl in general. You know, I don't think she's asking if she was geohead. This is like serious business about her personality. So that's a very telling question.
Here's a bit more telling one, because I've gotten responses for the next question. Girls actually don't like to hear from the parents, and I can elaborate if you need me to. They go, "What?" Exclamation mark, not a question mark. "What? He cooks?" Girls, I hear, could get intimidated by that. So that's something parents should ever say. And remember, he cooks. So they're like, "What? He cooks?"
I think it runs along the same line as you know, like the boy being a nurse, or things that I think in a lot of times in Jewish society where people just think that like a lot of times it's like a girl's job. But I say be open-minded. If he's a good cook, then great. Saves you a lot of Shabbos cooking.
Rosie, Shabbos cooking?
Yeah. Here's the deal. What I learned after my vast experience of dating is your parents kind of just want to be involved and know what's going on in your life, and they just ask it in really weird ways. So when they ask you a question like that, take it with a grain of salt and just be like, they just want to know if this man has a job or he's just cooking all day. Like, you got to figure out why they're asking you that question.
Yes. Are they asking you that because they feel like he's, overweight, or they're asking you because they, because
they don't know how to ask you how's your dating going.
They do not. They for sure do not. Okay, last two questions here. The last one's like hilarious, by the way, and I thought of it. Okay, second to last question here, lightning round.
I'll let you know if I find it funny.
Oh, you will. How many dates have you had with them? So parents is like, oh, how many dates have you? They want to know specifics here. How many dates? How long do you know this girl? What do you respond with? A little bit, a while? I don't know. That's my thoughts. It's like a little bit, a lot, a good amount. You'll know when I need to. That's my response. How about yours?
We're just dating. It's going wherever it's going. So just give me, I don't need to put a time limit or a time frame on that.
An estimate is good also. Yes. I like that. No, time frames, and I don't know, time frames they're good and they're bad, maybe a separate episode. And Coach Hannah, I like that as well. Yeah, like estimate works as well. Okay, here's the last thing. Okay. Is this one actually a make or break? Probably. Okay, you pick up the girl and the father goes, "All right, I'm driving." What do you do?
Run.
Run.
I think you would say, okay, so you're going to drop us off at this place. Okay, great. We'll Uber back.
Oh, I like that.
So I literally don't even go out. You could just say, you think you're feeling the corona coming in right now, and walk out. You're not. This is going nowhere. Slow.
You start coughing. You don't even have to say. You're going to say cough.
Ladies and gentlemen, another episode, 33, Parents and Shidduchim. Hope this was helpful. I hope it gave you real insights on a few things of, how to manage your parents, what to do with your parents. And look, it's not so bad for you to just establish grounds and establish boundaries. Here's, mommy, tati, I'm not so comfortable with sharing that information yet. Why? Well, they'll probably ask why. Well, A, B, C, and D. I'll let you know. We can get into it another time. It is something that people have to really understand their parents as much as they can. And especially because most singles, they don't just go out a few times and, it's the one and they get married. They've been through cycles. Parents need to be aware of those cycles. And not hearing it from the single, just the parent should understand. All right, yeah, no, my daughter dates, at least a month. I'll follow up in a few weeks. My son is a 6-month dater, so I know, I'll see the girl at the barbecue. Understand your child as best as you can. Don't be too invasive. Don't just really touch up on it as light as you can, and have some confidence in them. I think that's the best thing that parents can really take away. Have some confidence in your children. Say, I feel like I raised a really fine young man. I think I really raised a fine young lady who has the aptitude, has the capability, and is level-headed and understands what they want and what they want to do. And on the other side of that, try to detect patterns. If your child is it's not going well, if it seems that they're not being too responsible or there are problems, try to do whatever you can with that. Whether it's approaching them directly, might not be the best thing to do all the time, but also maybe go around them, talk to their Rebbe, talk to her Rebbitzin, talk to somebody that maybe can be the third party, and you can get a much better idea of what's going on. Even called a shadchan, you'll find out at the end of the day that it's actually, for the parent, it's just the parent themselves that's being a bit more frustrated and not so comfortable with the situation. Rosie, closing statements.
I'm actually going to give a closing statement in the view of the parent. And I think that instead of looking at it as a single person whose parent is annoying and they're bothering you about this, we should just try to once in a while throw them a bone, right? Parents usually want what's best for their child. They want to know what's going on, not to be nosy, but to know that you're okay and you're doing okay. So throw them a bone, let them know that you're dating someone, or maybe let them know that you're going on a date. And maybe if you don't have a good relationship with your parents and you don't actually want to tell them who you're dating, when you're dating, ask your local Orthodox rabbi here, but this may be a time where you could do, tell a little white lie and be like, I dated someone last week and it didn't work out. They just want to hear that you're okay, you're doing okay in this crazy dating world, and you're getting dates because the people who said home all day, their parents worry about that. So maybe we can just involve them a little bit more, but like a tiny bit, because the more you involve them, the worse it gets.
I like that. I didn't think about that too much. Okay. All right. I guess parents are people too. Coach Hannah.
Yeah, that should be a bumper sticker. Parents are people too. I like very much what you both said, and I think that's exactly what I wanted to say. Also, as a person that is dating, I think it is important to kind of view things from your parents' perspective a little bit, and just understand what Rosie had said earlier. Also, that parents sometimes say things in a weird way, but it's really coming from a place of love. And yes, sometimes they can be a bit too much and a bit too naggy and a bit overwhelming, but at the end of the day, most of the time, it's really coming from a place of love, and they really just are trying to have your best interest in mind. And it is important to kind of throw them a bone a little bit here and there. And at the same time, as parents, we should be doing the same thing. We should be looking at things from our kids' perspective and understanding that they are people too. They do have their own minds and, making their own decisions. And, when they're younger, you do make a lot of their decisions, but then you have to let go a little bit. You have to remember that they're growing up, and like you said, that you've raised good children, and that you've raised them to make good decisions, and you have to trust that you've done that. So it really is a give and take in that sense, and you really have to view things from the other's perspective. And that's something to do in general with your friends and with any relationship that you have. It's very important to do that. So it's definitely important to do that in this case. Overall, if you're going to do that, if you're going to try to view things from, your parents' perspective or your kid's perspective, it really does help to open up the lines of communication, which is so important as well. You want to be able to tell your parents things, and you want to be able to discuss things with your kids, and you want to be able to know that they're telling you the truth, and you want to know that your parents are really vested in, your happiness, and that really happens with an open line of communication. So that's really the best takeaway, I think. Okay,
love it. And Coach Hannah, where can people find you for very, very good shidduch advice?
They can always email me at Hannah Kahana. It's Hanna Kahana, Kahana, coach @gmail.com, or they can also find me on Instagram at Hannah Kahana Coaching. And I'm always happy to, answer questions. You guys can always send me messages. I'm always happy to be an objective opinion.
I do want to say, guys, that even though we're physically and emotionally dating, our parents are really involved in this emotionally as well. So they do have a little bit of a portion of it. So like Hannah said, just have open communication with them. Let them be involved a little.
Yes.
Because they are kind of going through it with us.
It's true. They are.
I hear. Okay, great points, Rosie and Coach Hannah. Thank you so much again for being here. As I let all the audience, members know that they can find us on Instagram at Nobody Talks Shidduchim, or they can go to our website, shidduchpodcast.com. As I always end off, happy face, smiley face, silly face. This is the Nobody Talks Shidduchim podcast.
Ouchie's Media Network.